Hello, I'm Harvey Lockhart. I'm the founder, executive, and artistic director for Hill Center for the Arts. Welcome to our Intellectual Artist Series Student Podcast. This student-led podcast is where our students learn and discuss the arts discipline that they're studying, from the history, the culture, the business behind it. Anything you can think of arts related, our students are talking about it. Stay tuned, and we know that you'll enjoy today's episode.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 6 of the Intellectual Artist Series. Very well. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you coming out on today. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in online. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on our various podcast streaming services, drop where you're listening or watching from in the comments and let us know what your biggest takeaway from this conversation is. I'm Adia Buford. I serve as the head of marketing and communications at Hill Center for the Arts. So excited to be here with you. To my right, we have the one, the only, the director, founder of Hill Center for the Arts, Mr. Harvey Lockhart.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes. And real quick, just a little bit about our organization. Hill Center for the Arts is dedicated to making high-quality arts and music programming accessible to all students, especially those from underserved communities. Let's get into the rest of the panel. Who do we have with us? Let's start with you, Mr. Charlie.
I'm Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown. Yeah. And what do you play?
I'm the pianist. Piano with this group.
Cool.
My name is Ben Wheeler, and I play bass.
All right.
Yeah.
My name is Irvin Neal, and I play the drums.
All right. So for our first book of this season, we're doing Moving to Higher Ground by Wynton Marsalis, How Jazz Can Change Your Life. And real quick, the goal of our series is to inspire art students and educators by exploring the history and culture of various art forms through nonfiction literature. So really gaining a greater appreciation for the culture, the music, the art that we partake in on a daily basis. So, as we prepare to embark on this journey, we want to start off with a question. In this book, Mr. Marsalis really works to demystify jazz and really make it tangible to the readers. So with that, I kind of want to start and get a grasp of where everybody is at. Like, how would you describe jazz? What is it to you?
I'll jump in. I remember when I was growing up, I didn't know anything about jazz music, but it was probably the first music that I ever learned how to play as a saxophone player through my teacher, Melton Mustafa was my teacher, and he used to write and play with the Count Basie Orchestra under the direction of Frank Foster, and I learned so much. I didn't know anything about jazz, but through him, I was exposed to it, and I didn't really start listening to it until much later. But as I listened to it and really started to study it and become a student of this music, I really started to see the correlation between life and, how like the discipline behind, being a musician. And it has definitely shaped it has helped to shape who I am as a person from a discipline point of view. It has helped me to be more informed about things I should and should not be involved in, just from, doing things like this right here, where we're reading books and also learning, like doing some research about the lives of these musicians whom we call our heroes. So it's informed me about a lot of things, and it has helped me to steer clear of some things that I could get into that would probably hinder me from, being who I really want to be. So I guess I could let everybody else elaborate a little bit more on their experiences.
Well, the question was, how did jazz change my life?
Oh, yeah. How do you define jazz? But if you want to go into your story, you can. Like, no, that's good.
Define jazz. Jazz is an intricate part of my life. Defining it is hard. It's love. I'll put that. I'll say love because I love jazz and what it did for me and how it changed my life. Me personally, the great Willie Aikens, God rest his soul, is where my jazz life began or what have you. So actually, I was in high school, probably about 15, 16, and I used to go and hear this drummer, great jazz drummer from here, Emmanuel Harold, and he changed my just whole outlook on what could be played and things of that nature. So once that, he was with Willie for some period of time. Then another drummer, Montez Coleman, and other drummers of that nature was with Willie. And as they ventured on, I got the opportunity to play with him. So that really changed my life. And then just being able to play with him, great jazz giant, and then other jazz giants when they were in town, they would usually come down to Spruil's, and then I used to get just engulfed with all that and all the information. So I just, like I said, jazz just really changed my life, just totally, wholeheartedly. But like I said, best word I could say to describe it would be love, because I just love jazz. And there's so many different intricate avenues that you can go with too. Cause it's just not one just straight and on. So no, not just straight ahead. It could be all kind of other different avenues which I have played also. So, but yeah. I'll go with that.
That's good. Thank you for sharing.
I would say that I echo what he says, because I played with Willie Aikens as well.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that I love about it and that's unique about it is the improvisational aspect of it. So having a conversation with people you might not even know, and it's pretty intimate, more so than just like kind of small talk. You know, it's like you're serious, you're trying to make something happen, and definitely. Rooted in black music and culture, but also a melting pot of cultures. Because once music's out there, it's kind of like everyone's, you can't really put a cap on it. So it's neat that it represents America, and so it's a kind of a form of communication. And I think maybe Miles Davis stopped even using the term jazz at a certain point, which I don't know if I endorse that or if it really matters. We try to put things in boxes, but just if it's good music, but I think the improvisational aspect is what makes it especially unique, and fun to play.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with Ben about the conversational aspect of the whole thing. I mean, I think for me, jazz is like listening to it and playing it, is a way of, you're listening to or you're participating in a conversation on it, through music, but you're still communicating back and forth, but it's a special kind of conversation that you have, and it's spontaneous. So, it's just like how we're sitting here at this table right now and just, talking about the ideas that are coming off the top of our head. This is exactly what jazz is like, a bunch of people doing that through their instrument. And it's always interesting to hear how different personalities, how not just what they have to say, but how they choose to say it to each other. You know what I mean? So like, one drummer might, say things a certain kind of way, has a way of saying things, but, depending on who he's sitting around with, he says that he might say it in a different way for those people. It's just, such an enjoyable thing to be a part of and to listen to me.
I would say one thing, like paradoxically, it takes a lot of discipline and practice of the tradition to actually be able to do that. So it's not just like, so it's almost a paradoxical thing that it is rooted in. It's like a language too. So there's that you kind of should pay homage to. I feel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's good.
It's an intelligent conversation.
No, you're fine.
That word, intelligent. Yeah, for sure.
You want to speak on that?
Well, I think when really looking at some videos of Witten and some of his interviews, he mentions this in relationship to avant-garde music. And so he's talking about, in other words, like an intelligent, the way that we would call intelligent conversation will be somebody who's versed in the language of jazz, meaning we've studied the tradition, versus somebody else who will approach avant-garde as a form of, he mentioned it as a way of teaching children how to improvise, when they just pick up the instrument and they just start playing or just doing whatever they want to do and saying whatever they want to say melodically, without the context of form and without even having an understanding of that. So it's kind of talking about those things, like through the language of music. That's kind of what we study as musicians, because that's what makes us unique. And you know, the those of us that really go in to study and to understand the history behind this music and really go through the different eras of the music, those are the best practitioners of the music, and they speak the most intelligently. But those people who don't do those things, their language is lacking in understanding the music. So it's a lifelong pursuit, because we're all developing and still learning this language of the music and doing our best to stay true to it. And we call learning it through the lens of the tradition. So I kind of don't want to keep jumping off the deep end on that. Keep going, but
it's good. That's good. You mentioned you, Ben, and Charlie talked about having a conversation, how jazz is so conversational. And that's actually one of the things Witten speaks to in the opening chapters of his book. He talks about his first experience with jazz in the parking lot of Mr. Danny Barker's church in Louisiana, and how he was going through all the different instrument sections and telling each person what their role was. But in one of the things he wanted to point out to them was the importance of the conversational aspect. So I'll just read a quick quote found in the introduction, page 8, paragraph 2. Mr. Barker says, "But when y'all play together, you got to talk to one another. The clarinet has to fill when the trumpet leaves space, and the trumpet has to leave that space." So my question with that is, what does it mean to hold creative space for yourselves and others? How do you do that?
I think it starts with like he mentioned with the roles. I think we each are going to answer this question from a different point of view, solely because of what our role is in the ensemble. So as a horn player, my role is usually to present the melody, and I have to have knowledge of what's going on harmonically. And when I improvise, I have to improvise within the parameters of the harmony. And I can stretch out. I can go outside if I wanted to, but I have to know that if I go too far out, I have no relationship, no connection to what's happening musically. So I don't want to, and that happens too. But my role is primarily to function within what everybody else is doing and communicate collectively. So, and once you hear everybody else's point of view, what they think about and what they do as they're playing, but my role is presenting the melody, and then when it's time for me to improvise, I feed off of what everybody else is doing. I feed off of what is going on harmonically on the piano. I feed off of what's happening harmonically and rhythmically on the bass, and same thing with the drums. So the energy that's being given through the drums, and so forth. But my role primarily is to communicate melody, at least melody and harmony, but in a different way. So
That's good.
To answer your question, I like the word respect. As he said, with boundaries, everybody has their different roles. Me as a drummer, I don't want to. I could overpower everybody and do whatever I want to do. I could take it wherever I wanted to, speed wise, volume wise, things of that nature. But as we've already said and spoken, it's a language. So I don't want to be hollering and everybody else. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like I said, I like the word respect, because I have to respect what they're giving. I hope they respect what I'm giving, and then it's as we said, conversation. So it's a give take type deal. So that's why I like to look at it as just respect aspect between who's in a group and what's going on.
Yeah.
I think for me, the question is, like, how do we
Co-create a space for one another.
right? And I think that there are a bunch of different ways to do that. But the best way is just to be paying attention to what's going on right now, be engaged completely in the conversation and listening and knowing and thinking about what's going on in the conversation the whole time. So that way you're always ready to iron out that crease or tuck something in, or, you know what I'm saying? You're just like ready to respond to whatever anybody has to say, So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I think. It's just, it's about just being involved with what's going on right in that moment.
That's good.
Yeah, I wonder if Winton is getting at a maybe larger, like on another level too, like in society or something like that. How, I mean, we can listen to each other better, because I think he's an advocate of. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with being politically correct, but he's an advocate of having a safe space where everyone can share their ideas and talk things out. I think. Also, I think there's another aspect that made me think of, which is like jealousy or something, or you hear other musicians, but there's infinite room for creativity, and so I should be inspired by others, not like, they're better than me, or intimidated. There's enough room for everyone at the table, so that's kind of like what I get from that.
That's good. How do you become secure enough to understand that you are good enough in your skill set as you are with your expression? Feel secure enough to not compare yourself to other musicians?
Is that possible?
Me personally, I did compare myself, so I don't know if it's always a bad thing, because at some point in time it was like I felt I should be some place, and I might have heard another musician that started before or after me, and they're at the place that I wanted to get to. Sometimes that pushes me to, okay, well, I need to get this woodshed some more, and shed or practice and get out there and play more type deal. So there is a healthy place that does help you push, even not so that I'm envious of them or anything of that nature, but I want to get to that same level or somewhere near to that level, and me myself get to that level. Not that I want to be that person, but I want to get to that level, me myself, and getting there. So there is a good aspect of that, because there is a push. Hey, I can't just sit back. This not getting it. So just to push you forward type deal. So I like to paint that aspect also. So
that's good.
Yeah, I could add on to that. Like, I think it's environment. Who you're around. I mean, because there are those people who are extremely arrogant and like just disrespectful. Like they'll tell a young musician that's coming up, "Oh man, that's sad what you just played," or that's not happening, and that it's so discouraging that it tears them down, and then you wonder why, the younger generation or the next generation they're not pursuing this music as much, because it's such like a elitist. It's in some ways it's becoming like an elitist society, but there are those communities that are welcoming, that are, hey man, yeah, you're doing a good job. Keep working on this. Check this recording out, or even giving you giving you things, constructive criticism, holding you to the standard. Like, hey man, you need to check this out. It's out of love. It's out of mentorship. Like, hey, yeah, what you did, if you're going to tear somebody down, build them up too. So, but they do it in such a way that, it's all love. They'll tell them, yeah, man, that wasn't happening what you just played, but check this out, and then come back next week. And then as they're developing and making those changes, you have people cheering you on. And I mean, it's very difficult in this industry and in this music not to compare yourself, especially because of historically there were some times where they had the so-called cutting sessions, and want to see who can play the fastest, who can play the highest, who can, play the most, most intimate type of feeling, emotion, but that's not what this music is really about. So, we always teach that, we want you to be honest in your interpretation. If you listen to the music, if you understand what's happening, your honesty will come out. What's in you is going to come out anyway. But, we encourage you to be the best version of yourself, and we try to help you to connect those dots. I think healthy community does that.
The question is about the question is about how to keep your individuality or not be discouraged.
Yeah, essentially, not comparing yourself or allowing that comparison to like stifle your own expression.
Right. So
I think for me it's like you realizing that it's a gift to be able to play music, and I could never play again, and the world would go on and everything would be fine. It's not, so it's a luxury, and no one gets hurt, So I mean, even if it's not a bad thing to have your ego crushed a little bit, I mean, it's like Irvin said, it's not a bad thing. Ego's there for a reason, to motivate, but at the same time, there's always someone better, and also what is better. These are all,
Right. I think we were talking about earlier about how since jazz is like a conversation, an intelligent conversation. So because it is, it's like going into a room with a bunch of people that are, high thinkers, you know what I mean? They have a lot of intelligent things to say, and you know what I mean? And you're going to jump in that room and you're going to start talking to a bunch of people having an intelligent conversation. So obviously, if you're going to wander around in these people, you want to have something intelligent to contribute, And so that's where the insecurity in your voice can come in, because and comparing yourself to others, because you wonder if you're always hoping that what you have to say is intelligent enough for the rest of the conversation, and the people around you having the conversation, it really just depends on also how giving they are in the conversation. You can have an intelligent conversation, but everybody is meeting everybody where they are, rather than expecting everybody else to be somewhere else. So, so then it's just having believing in your own voice and knowing that you have something intelligent to say or not, and hopefully you don't say stuff that you think is intelligent and ends up being stupid.
Well, hey, when you didn't have something to say, you said, "Oh, I don't." So,
right.
So I think that's the key too. It's like knowing.
Yeah, just don't say.
She's asking questions right now, and I'm sitting here, and I'm like, this is the smartest person, right? So I think that's one thing. I think that's proven actually. If you're the one asking the questions and then standing back and listening, people are going to leave. Oh, that's a smart cat right there. I don't know. So
that's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you all for sharing. So we were talking earlier about the importance of understanding your role. It seems like it takes a lot of maturity in a sense. And I'm curious to know, have you all always had that understanding? Has it been a development process? And if so, like, what that process has been like?
I'll start. When I first began playing jazz, it was the whole watch me solo type deal for me, just me personally speaking. Look what I can do. I can do it, like I said, like if we were having a conversation, you wouldn't want me screaming at the top of my voice and you're just talking to me. It's not good. It's not a good conversation. I'm just hollering at you. So I was playing anything I heard, saw, thought I could play, had under my hands, didn't have under my hands. I'm going to do it until I got that look back. That's what Willie used to do. And once don't do that again. If nothing else, okay, don't do that again.
If he starts shaking his horn,
right,
you're in trouble.
You see that head getting I said, "Uh-oh, don't do that again." So, like I said, when you asked the question, did I have it at the beginning? No, I didn't have it at the beginning. It's just like learning how to walk. You're gonna fall. You're not just gonna, come out the womb running and then just on it. So yes, it is a process of figuring out what's good, what's not good, what to go with, what not to go with, type deal. So, but yeah, it's just learning process. I think everybody has to go through. I don't think anybody just came in, just had it or whatever. So yeah.
Well, yeah, same thing. Teachers, kind of, like those mentors. They'll set you straight. About the respect thing, like he was talking about. When you're doing your own thing and you're not, all you focusing on is yourself, then you're not a part of the conversation. You're not even contributing to the conversation, and that's not what this music is about, and that's not something that makes it enjoyable for the audiences. And I always tell my students, hey, if people come out here to pay you attention, that's the most valuable thing. That's worth more than any amount of money you can be paid. People are paying you attention, and that's what we want them to get in their minds first. So if you're playing in the way that people are engaged in what you have to say, and not only just in what you have to say, but what your group has to say collectively, then you're winning. But when you're not doing that, something's off. And sometimes, as younger musicians, even when I was coming up, we'll be so in our own mode, focusing only on what we're doing, that we can't even hear when it's off. Like we're just.
I was killing, man.
Yeah, I was killing. I'm not. You're not like not knowledgeable about what's happening harmonically. Like you just don't know. Like, oh, you're not in the right key. Your audience and a seasoned musician, they're listening like. They're doing like what a dog would do when he hears something crazy. Like, they're like, yeah, man, you're not. But you over there thinking that you're killing it, and you're not listening. You're not engaged in what's going on around you. You're not even there, but you're doing your own thing in your own, and it's evident. And then nobody wants to play with people like that.
I think that the roles, it's weird. I think that like the older that I get playing as a musician, the more roles that I've figured out that there's I'm discovering more and more roles that there are. You know what I mean? Like I used to think that like the only role that you had is as a piano player was playing chords and comping or whatever, and then the drummer had a certain role and bass player a certain role. But then the more that I work with different musicians, I realize there's more I think more important complicated roles in a group, when it comes to like as a leader or as and I'm talking about while we're playing, so somebody that sometimes it's like, there's certain musicians that with certain combinations of musicians work best as leader or work best as like the comedian, of the group that, that plays that plays the things that have the most humor in them, you know what I mean, that inspires people to do a certain thing, or, there's like the bus driver in the group that, it's always leading they're not necessarily the leader, but they kind of, make people, make the group go a certain directions, and, so when it comes to roles, sometimes it's like, it's hard to sometimes you don't even know really what your role is until you started playing with, until the downbeat. Sometimes, it's like, because, you might think your role is one thing when you go in, but you realize because of the dynamic of the musicians that are on stage that it might end up being something else that you thought.
And then the humility behind knowing when to take the back seat, or knowing when to jump out and lead. I mean, it's a give and take, but somebody has to be willing to do it. But then I love it when groups are secure enough in who they are as musicians that they don't feel like, oh, I can't take a back seat. No, for what? I'm such and such, But when that leadership role can be spread out amongst the group, I think that's when magic happens, or when things are just it's a beautiful experience for the musicians on stage and for the audience.
That's powerful. You mentioned earlier, Mr. Harvey, the importance of listening, or importance of understanding what you want to say, understanding what you want to communicate through the music. Can you talk about that process, why it's important to be clear on what you're saying?
Yeah, and I think that the process of it is it's challenging, because sometimes you get up, and this is the language part, right? You get up and you're playing on a tune that you may not be as familiar with, or that it hasn't gotten in your soul. It's like you haven't spent enough time with it, like, so you don't know everything about it, you don't know enough about it. So, and what you're doing is you're communicating, you're kind of telling a story about this tune in this environment to the audience, and you haven't searched, you don't know enough about this tune to communicate it effectively and efficiently to your audience. And that is a challenge. That's what so much insecurity comes in with that, and it's almost like you take on more than you can chew at that time. So when you're approaching it from that point of view, then it's not a good experience. You're not going to be honest. Right now, you're just guessing. You're just, you're making assumptions, musical assumptions. But when you do your homework and you spend enough time with this thing, then you're able to communicate in a different level. Like, you're able to tell, it's like going home. Like, I can tell you how to get to my house. Go here, go here, go here, go this way, go that way. Oh, that road is blocked. Okay, we'll take this route. So you're able to communicate effectively, efficiently, in many different ways. So then your freedom of expression comes a little bit more easier. And you're able to be honest. You're able to be clear based on everything that you've learned, all of the things that you've studied in the past. You're able to communicate effectively when you know what you're talking about. And a lot of times we don't know what we're talking about, but there are those of us that are well studied, well versed in this music, that's been playing it for a long time, and they know what they're talking about. And those ensembles feel the best. They work well together. But it is a work in progress. As long as people want to continue to develop and continue to learn about this music, the process is going to unfold itself. You're gonna be able to communicate at a high level about that tune, or within the parameters of that tune, as long as you keep on playing it and sticking with it and learning it. I think that's the best way I can put it.
That's good. What would you say to the people who are in the earlier stages of that process? They know they can reach a higher level, but they're not necessarily there yet.
Two things. One of my teachers told me, man, you just got to play. You just need to play more. You're not playing enough. They told me, I heard three things that really changed my life. You're not playing enough. Go out and play. Are you listening to yourself? That was another one. Are you playing? Are you listening to yourself? And the third one was be honest. Be honest in what you feel and what you're hearing, and just present that. So I guess y'all can chime in if y'all had something to add to that.
Maybe not. Don't worry about the outcome. It's more if you love the process itself.
That's good.
And it's not. You're not going to become rich playing music, necessarily. And that's probably getting harder and harder. So that's why, but it's not always about music. I think maybe I think your goal at Heal is broader than that. Maybe it's about developing people in society, but I've been able to make a living in St. Louis, modest, by just playing music. But you have to diversify. But you have to improvise and be willing to try different things. So I think everything we're talking about applies to just life in general. But I think if you you don't have to be that. I'm not that person that practices 12 hours a day. I've done it before for auditions and stuff like that, and it helps. It's amazing. And those people are incredible, and they'll be able to show you something. Like when Coltrane plays, you're learning something about mathematics and the universe. I mean, it's that deep because he's explored stuff, that's outside of himself, But I mean, if you can play simple and still touch people, it doesn't have to be that. As long as you do it consistently, it'll come, and there's some people that maybe aren't cut out to be, and sometimes some people aren't natural musicians, but even they benefit from having it like in schools or in general. It's like still all these things would really help everyone, because they're like cutting these programs, and they're actually, you can say more with music than you can with actual language. So talking about communication, I mean, I would say, And one other thing I wanted to say is I saw Wynton Marsali's group when they welcomed some Indian musicians from India, and this flute player went toe to toe with the lead. The Indian flute is a different kind of flute, harder to play, I would argue, and he went toe to toe with the lead flute player of the Lincoln Center, and it was a battle. It was like a cutting contest, and the Indian musician cut the guy because it was so honest and it was so organic, and Indian music, like jazz, developed but non-commercially, and jazz is kind of non-commercial too, but a longer period of time, and it was a humble exchange. But you could tell when the one guy in in Wynton's band, he put his horn down, and he couldn't. He just knew when he couldn't. He had been schooled, and it was. I don't know. So there's something about. I think I don't know how it ties in, but I think it's okay to get cut. It's not the end of the world if you're not the best.
Thank you for sharing. I think this has been an amazingly insightful conversation, a step into the world of jazz and how it's impacting you all's lives personally. I think that's exactly what Mr. Marsalis is trying to do with this book. So I want to thank you all for spending this time with us and sharing your experiences. And thank you all for participating in this conversation with us. Thank you to everyone online for participating as well. If you would like.
We have time to maybe take a question or two? Or
Yeah. Do we have a question or?
Any questions?
Yeah.
Anybody have a question?
Questions, comments, takeaways? Okay.
All right. That's a wrap. Yeah, I guess we could play a little bit. Let's play them out.